What's going on, Bulls Nation? Hopefully, you guys recovered from that beatdown that we got last night. But there's a lot of talks about the what the Bulls need, a point guard or whatever the case may be. So I think it's more than a point guard. I think we need a leader, and we'll talk about that right after this.
Let's talk about one of the most iconic basketball teams in the world. You're listening to Chicago Bulls Nation.
All right, Bulls Nation. So there's bigger problems with this team more than just a point guard. And you would think that we have like 700 point guards in the team, from Kobe White to Alex Caruso to Ayo Dosunmu. And now we got Goran Dragic, which is a veteran point guard. I always felt that you could plug him in, and be that stabilizing factor in there. And for the most part, he does for the second unit. But the first unit is having trouble, as we know. And we got some solutions for that. But if we're going to insist of a point guard, right? So I think we got to get rid of one guard, because we're basically using them all as a point guard. If we actually believe in that notion, then I think we need more than a leader, than a point guard itself. I think we have capable guards, maybe not to a point where Billy wants him to be, but I think this three individuals can help the Bulls transition from a losing team to have the mentality, some dog in them that would bark in their ear, and basically force them to do things that are uncomfortable or they're not used to. Because I think this team is too nice to one another that they don't talk. So these three guys, and let's start off with Taj Gibson, right? A former Bull, well-respected, no-nonsense guy. He's not the player he used to be for the Bulls, and that's not what we're gonna get him for. We're gonna get him for his leadership, for his experience here in Chicago, and most of all, his connection with the Trojans. Because we have two on the team that used to be his teammates, which is DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic. I think they would listen to him. I think he would command that respect. He's well respected in this league. He still brings up. We just matched up against him, in Washington. He can still play sporadic minutes. He's a power forward, so we can plug him in there, because that we all know that's a need. And I get it. He's not the answer long term or short term or even at the power forward position. He's not the answer. But I think he, being a vocal leader, would tremendously help this team be a better unit together. Because with him, you have that force inside. You have that voice, that leadership voice that hopefully the other players would listen to. And the other player is Thaddeus Young. With Thad Young, it's a little bit difficult because of his salary. He does have, compared to Taj, which is his minimum. Technically, you could do a Taj for Tony Bradley swap. That is if Taj, and he's well respected. If he goes to the Wizards and say, you know what, I want out, let me sign with the Bulls, or just get this guy, they would respect his demand, because he's not being utilized in Washington the way they used to anyway. But hey, you get that to where he would retire as a Bull, and he get to go back home. With Thaddeus Young, he was respected in this locker. He got some connection with Zach LaVine. And again, he's a leader. He's a leader in the team. He's a bit younger than Taj. He could still play. He still plays at Toronto, and he still brings those invaluables. The problem with Thaddeus Young is his contract, because I'm pulling it right now, and it looks like he is making, roughly around $7 million. So you gotta give up assets to get him. You have to, around $8 million. So with that being said, who's the guy that we can trade for him? I'm not gonna give up Kobe White because the salary's almost the same. That kind of swap, as good as it sounds, because we have another power forward in the team. I don't know about that. Kobe White has been playing good lately. I don't know if I want to give up those assets, but if they want to salvage this, this season, for example, and really want to get this done, then I can see that happening. Trading Kobe White for him, I think that's a bad trade, but something that needs to be explored, I suppose. I personally wouldn't do it. And the last player, and this solves the quote unquote point guard problem and the leadership problem, is Rajon Rondo. Rondo is sitting at home right now doing a whole bunch of nothing. think you can sign him for a vet minimum. Go to the Bulls, and you don't get him for his ability anymore. You get him, I mean, if he gives you 10, 12, 15 minutes a night, that's a bonus. But what you need from him is being a coach out there. Things that Billy Donovan can't say because he doesn't have that attitude. It's just not in his personality. That is where I think Rajon Rondo would be invaluable. He can talk to Zach or DeMar or Vooch and tell it how it is. He's like, guys, you suck. You don't play defense. This is how you do it. And at 36 years old, I mean, Chris Paul's still playing at a high level. The last time we saw him is in Cleveland, and he's still playing pretty good. I think if you sign him on the Bulls and eventually transition him to being an assistant coach, because I said it in Billy Donovan's piece, he needs an assistant coach that is hard-nosed, that's going to be respect. Somebody like Tom Thibodeau, if you can promise him that, get a minor role, maybe get rid of one of your guys, ideally Kobe White, or I don't know, trade Goran Dragic. I don't know, do something, but you gotta do something because this team lacks fire. They lack the dog in them. They put their heads down when things get tough, and no one's out there to bark on their ear. No one's there to hold them accountable. No one. They're just too nice to one another. I'm glad that DeMar DeRozan said they played like shit last night. I am happy to see some fire, some attitude on this team, but for the most part, it's lacking. Like, everyone's just lackadaisical. Everyone's so nice, and it's peachy and flower and all that stuff. We need some fire on this team. Patrick Beverley type of guy, because we do have the talent. That is the most frustrating part. I've seen the Bulls with a lot less talent than this, and when they lose with a pride. This team is frustrating to watch because of the lack of effort, the lack of fire, the lack of care. You can see DeMar caring, but his skill level on defense just doesn't translate. But on offense, he would push hard, and sometimes it would look like he's being selfish, but that is his way. But if we can get a guy, that would push them, would yell at him on the huddle, on timeout, would get a tee, something like that, somebody with fire. That is something that we need from this team. Not a magical point guard. Not Derrick Rose. As much as I want Derrick Rose here, that is for nostalgic purposes. I still think there's time. All we need now is sneak into the playoffs. We don't need the number 1 seed, which it's not possible anymore. But if we can sneak in and somebody needs to inject some attitude, some fire into this team, and I think we'll be all right. Again, thank you for watching, guys. Hopefully you like this video. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're a Bulls fan. And I will see you guys tomorrow for another video.